Hashtag the Montecito cooking catastrophe. Tyler Perry's ultimate rejection. Well, honey, buckle up because we're about to dive into the most spectacular celebrity meltdown of the year. When a duchess tries to film a cooking show at a billionaire's private estate only to get publicly rejected by said billionaire, you know you're in for some premium entertainment. Grab your popcorn and your smelling salts, because Meghan Markle just got served the ultimate Hollywood humiliation. In a plot twist that's more dramatic than any soap opera finale, Tyler Perry, the man who once offered his sprawling Montecito mansion as a refuge during the Sussexes' royal meltdown, has apparently decided he'd rather host Satan than let Meghan film another cringe-worthy episode of her cooking show. Just 24 hours after Netflix quietly announced that the Sussexes had renegotiated their streaming deal for a much cheaper fee, the glossy trailer for With Love, Meghan dropped on YouTube. The teaser showed the Duchess-in-training whisking a bowl of avocado-toast batter while a pastel-pink kitchen glimmered in the background. Except the background wasn't a generic set. It was supposed to be Tyler Perry's Montecito mansion, the same sprawling estate that had once served as a sanctuary for the Sussexes when they fled the palace. But here's the delicious twist, honey. That trailer was a sugar-coated lie. The footage was shot months earlier, during the same production block as Season 1. Netflix hadn't ordered a fresh shoot, they were simply repackaging existing material. The result? A trailer that looked like a rerun of a show that already received a lukewarm reception. The plan was to turn Perry's manicured gardens, marble countertops, and sweeping ocean views into the ultimate royal meets Hollywood kitchen backdrop. What actually happened? Meghan Markle, fresh off her latest PR disaster and desperate to salvage her crumbling lifestyle brand, approached Tyler Perry with what she thought was a brilliant idea. Hey Tyler, remember how you let us hide out at your gorgeous Montecito estate when we were fleeing the royal family? Well, we want to film our new cooking show there. What happens next? Perry reportedly laughed so hard he almost choked on his kale smoothie. Because here's the thing, sweetie, Tyler Perry isn't just any Hollywood mogul. He's a man who built an empire through careful business decisions, meticulous tax planning, and the kind of financial discipline that makes accountants weep with joy. And Meghan? She's a woman whose financial house is such a mess. Even the IRS is sending her strongly worded letters. Sources close to Perry are dishing that when Meghan's camp approached him about filming at his estate, he didn't just say no. He reportedly gathered his entire legal and financial team and declared, "Under no circumstances will my property be associated with the Sussexes streaming circus." One insider claimed Perry's exact words were, "I never wanted the property used for that purpose, and I'm not jeopardizing my sale or my standing for anyone's streaming deal, especially not this one." But Perry's refusal wasn't a snub born of ego, it was a legal self-preservation move. Two heavyweight tax agencies, California's Franchise Tax Board and the U.S. Internal Revenue Service, had already sent Perry's accountants a red flag warning. Any commercial filming on this property could trigger a reclassification from a private residence to a revenue-generating business asset, exposing him to multi-million-dollar reassessments and potential penalties. According to leaked information, both agencies had already flagged his estate for potential reassessment if it was used for commercial filming. The Sussexes' increasingly complicated tax situation, what with their Archwell Foundation issues and Netflix-linked earnings, had turned Perry's property into what one legal expert called a legal landmine waiting to explode. Perry, whose empire is built on meticulous financial discipline, didn't want his Montecito oasis turned into a tax court case. He also knew that Meghan's Archwell LLC and her Netflix royalties were already under the microscope for questionable domicile status. He even told a confidant, "I'm selling the estate next year. I can't have a streaming drama dragging my name through a tax audit." The irony is absolutely exquisite. Here's Meghan, who built her post-royal brand on being the authentic duchess who connects with real people, trying to film in a billionaire's mansion while claiming she's doing it for domestic grace and elite access. Meanwhile, Perry, the man who actually built something real, is smart enough to know that associating with the Sussexes' brand of chaos is bad for business. Now, let's talk about the real reason Perry ran faster than you can say royal security detail denied. The Sussexes' financial situation isn't just messy, it's apocalyptic. Sources close to the California tax authorities are revealing that Meghan and Harry's tax filings have become so complicated, even seasoned accountants are having nightmares. The problem isn't just that they owe money, though they definitely owe money. It's that their entire financial structure is built on sand. Archwell Foundation issues, Netflix deal complications, and don't even get me started on their charity mismanagement. They've created a perfect storm of tax trouble that's got federal agencies salivating like sharks smelling blood in the water. One tax expert who's been following the situation told a confidant, "This isn't just about owing back taxes. This is about potential criminal liability." When you're playing fast and loose with nonprofit status while profiting personally, that's when the big dogs come out to play. The IRS reportedly has multiple ongoing investigations into various Sussex ventures, and California's tax board is apparently preparing what one insider called a scorched earth audit. But here's the kicker, Perry knew all of this. He's not just financially savvy, he's politically connected. Sources say he was briefed by his legal team on exactly how getting involved with the Sussexes production could trigger a reclassification of his property use, potentially invoking retroactive reassessments that could cost him millions. He's actively preparing to sell the estate, one real estate insider revealed. The last thing he needs is for it to get dragged into federal scrutiny because Meghan wanted to film her cooking show in his kitchen. With Perry's estate off the table, Meghan's production team scrambled for a plan B. Their answer? The Sapola farmhouse, a rustic, half-finished barn that had served as a secondary location for season 1. But this wasn't just an inconvenience, love. This was a full-blown production nightmare that would make even the most seasoned studio executives break out in a cold sweat. Here's what went catastrophically wrong. The location fees skyrocketed. What was supposed to be a modest rental, same as before, turned into owners demanding triple the original rate after the Perry debacle, citing brand exposure and risk of negative press. The permits and zoning became a bureaucratic nightmare. What should have been a standard residential filming permit turned into local authorities reclassifying the property as commercial use, forcing a fresh zoning application, a new environmental impact study, and a $150,000 permit fee. Insurance costs exploded. Standard production liability wasn't enough anymore. Insurers raised the policy ceiling from $2 million to $7 million because the farmhouse now hosted a high-profile cast and crew. The logistics were a complete disaster. The farmhouse lacked adequate power, required temporary generators, and the crew had to rewire lighting rigs for a space that wasn't built for a full-scale set. Even the talent scheduling became impossible. Guest chefs Jose Andres and Tan France had to reshuffle their calendars, threatening to pull out if the shoot slipped past their next availability window. The result? A production nightmare that cost Netflix an extra $3 million in unplanned expenses, forced a 4-week delay, and left the crew working 12-hour days to rebuild sets that had already been torn down at Perry's estate. Property owners aware of the growing controversies surrounding With Love demanded tighter contracts, higher insurance coverage, and massive fee increases, reportedly nearly 3 times the original rental rate. Even local officials forced Netflix to submit new zoning applications and re-permit everything from scratch, citing that recurring commercial use of the residence was now subject to municipal review. It was a bureaucratic nightmare that delayed production, inflated costs, and generally made everyone involved want to quit the entertainment industry entirely. But oh, the desperation in Meghan's camp is absolutely delicious to watch. When Perry's rejection became public, they didn't admit they'd been rejected. They spun a tale about how Meghan never wanted to film there because of privacy concerns for the children. Please. The hypocrisy is so thick you could cut it with a sword. Here's a woman who's built her entire post-royal career on oversharing, writing tell-all memoirs, doing explosive interviews, and generally turning her family life into content gold. But suddenly, she's worried about privacy for Archie and Lilibet? The timing of this privacy excuse was particularly telling. It surfaced 24 hours after the estate rejection became public. Production call sheets for both seasons never listed Archie or Lilibet as on-set talent. No child safety protocols were ever filed. Industry insiders called it a convenient after-the-fact excuse, a classic PR move to shift blame from